Okay, hi everybody. So today we're going to talk about the circular economy. We're going to talk about construction waste, examples of products available in Ireland and future trends, the way we're heading down the road. So what is the circular economy and what does it mean for construction sector? So currently the Earth's annual demand for resources exceeds its regenerative capacity, which is called World Overshoot Day. It marks the day when we've used more than the globe can regenerate for us. So this year it fell on July the 28th for the globe, and it fell quite earlier in Ireland. So we're using a lot more stuff than we can replace, regenerate, and reuse much sooner than the world can or the globe can regenerate it. So the linear economy currently, or the initial model is reaching limits of its capacity, and it's resulting in very negative environmental impacts, and they compromise the habitability of the earth. So it goes from mine, make, install, and throw in the dump when we're finished with it. So circular economy is this little butterfly is from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. It's quite a good kind of overview of the whole thing. It keeps everything in the circle. A little bit kind of goes out and leaks into maybe waste and kind of a landfill, but the whole idea of it is to close the circle in the future. It uses less, uses stuff longer, makes materials and equipment and buildings and everything clean, and uses where we use things again. So the new model of it is it's emerging as a more sustainable alternative to the linear economy because it closes the loop. And the objective of the circular economy is to achieve more efficient and resilient production, consumption systems, buildings, maximize the use of natural resources and preserve what we have and keep everything in a continuous cycle. In keeping their value so they don't get dumped, and improving their value too. So changing the economic system, I suppose. And the approaches require the areas to be looked at: design and the products and services, the management of these market models, which is going to change, converting waste into resources, which there is a lot of potential out there, national regulations, because policy does change how and guide how people and businesses and organizations perform, and I suppose show the commitment to the citizens and teaching to change their consumption habits. So there's 9 R's of the circular economy. The refuse, that's refuse probably to take a virgin material and reuse another one. Rethink and reduce. Reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, repurpose. There's a lot of R's in there. And that means extending the lifespan of materials in buildings, even in equipment, like, for example, don't throw out the washing machine, fix the one broken part. I've been involved in a few projects at home now. I didn't get any new doors for my house. I just gathered them from a few sheds and places that I knew people from, added bits and pieces of timber on here and there, and painted them all the same color. They're all different models, but they all look the same because they're all painted the same. We're involved in a renovation project up in the west, and we're not taking out the box sash windows. We're replacing the sashes because they're in shaky condition, but we're keeping the frames, we're keeping the weights, the sliding weights. We're putting in a fairly high spec new double glazed unit, and we're going to airtightness the windows with seals, brushes, and airtight mastic around them. So we're not throwing out all these frames, we're keeping them, but we're going to improve their performance. I could keep going on about that stuff forever. So the circular economy in building is an alternative to the linear economy. So recent data has shown that climate change and resource scarcity are pointed to a model that this is the only way we can go forward. If the studies that we've done to look at the current economic model, and if it stays the same, we can't resolve our climate issues, we can't resolve our biodiversity issues, we can't resolve even our air quality issues. So on the right hand side there is the controversial one, is from Kate Rayworth, who I saw at Economics years ago, is the donut economics. It looks at the whole picture. It looks at the holistic picture from every part of a system. and it's very, the link there is quite good. She's got some good presentations and YouTube clips that are worth looking at. So since the landfill taxes have kind of inspired contractors to start using alternative routes for demolition and reusing it and not going to waste because it costs them. So levies do actually, and costs do actually have a beneficial effect. So policy can be kind of, you know, a positive thing, and it is a thing that we probably need to develop more and more to guide people in the right direction. So sorry, there's nothing happened here now. On to the next one. Right. So for the circular economy, there are 3 principles of action: avoiding the generation of waste, and these are salvage yards. There's doors there that can be reused. There's furniture there on the left that can be reused. Habitat Ireland are also creating kind of centres for waste materials and waste equipment that they're repurposing and fixing up and then selling it to the local communities. I think they're rolling out kind of from the north and down into Dundalk and Dublin direction at the moment. In chats with them. So keeping products and materials for as long as possible. So the resources like buildings, for example, that's why I've got that shot in Newgrange. The oldest buildings that are still occupied in the world are 9,000 years old in Italy. Now they've been refurbished a lot, and Newgrange is 3,600 years old, and you can see it's still standing. So we obviously had some fairly decent building kind of contractors or trades and designers and engineers back at 3,600 years ago. So the idea is to keep what we have, and that, you know, makes it reduces the load on the planet, and it keeps circular going. So also a regeneration of natural capital. So the principle is essential to guarantee the supply of natural goods and services to which human survival and well-being depends. So these are kind of bio-based materials. So in nature, there's no waste. All elements have a function. They go in a circle. So if, for example, your wood-based insulation cannot be reused for something, it could be a fuel in the end, but I suppose that fuel is the kind of reducing the use of the fuel is one of the principles, rather than just finding renewable methods of fuel. So the circular economy also provides environmental impact benefits, and it boosts competitive and employment generation, and it's going to create a different economic system, and it's going to create new business opportunities, innovation. You know, like we don't make gas lamps like we used to do 150 years ago. We don't make as many kind of, I suppose, carts for horses anymore because we use cars. So the economic system changes. Nothing really stays the same. And my feeling it's not going to be the same in the future as it is today. And one of the keys to achieving circularity is implementing digitalization and new technologies as well, such as BIM for buildings, building information modeling, now kind of turning into management, where you keep an eye on your building in use as well, and in the future digital twins work with that and all that kind of, so you can model the kind of retrofitting or measures that you want to do to your building. I've gone off on another tangent there, sorry. So raw material extraction, material processing is responsible for 90% of biodiversity and water stress globally. So we need to make sustainable products, services and building models so that no waste is produced in the first place. So that little residual waste arrow on the right, down at the right hand side, hopefully in the future will flip up into the recycling, and there'll be very little coming out of the circular economy in the future if things are designed in the way that they should be. So European national policies are the EU Green Deal, which is a roadmap from the Circular Economy Action Plan. So what it wants to do is reduce net greenhouse emissions by 2050, disconnecting the idea of economic growth from resource consumption by promoting the circular economy, and again, the donut economy thing, improving the quality of life for everybody, because we're going to be living in a cleaner world and cleaner environments, and restoring biodiversity, which is one of the very, very big things where biodiversity is in a lot of trouble globally at the moment, including in Ireland. Like, you know, our bees, insects, our plants, all that, our waterways are taking a big hit now at the moment. So the EU Green Deal, the action plan for that was, it wants to achieve that the products marketed in the European Union are sustainable, recyclable, reusable. So, for example, all solar PV panels at the moment that are made installed in the EU have to be 100% recyclable. Now, I don't know the technical recyclability, how they're broken down with all the different bits in the glass and the diodes and all that type of stuff, but they are 100% recyclable. I suppose giving people information on how the circularity works, durability, repairing products, and what they purchase, and where to find people that can fix things. You know, there's a lot of systems like bike repair places, even machinery, equipment for houses. These places are opening up at the moment, so you can bring stuff in and get it repaired rather than just throw it in the skip, and avoiding the production of waste. And converting any waste that can't stay in the particular system into a raw material, virgin material for another a piece of equipment or material. Excuse me. So in the measure of Ireland, we're not doing so great. I'm going to, a lot of the stuff in here you can reread. I'm going to go through some of these a bit faster than I should do. So in Ireland, we're actually, our circularity reusable rate is 1.6%, not great. It's 11.9 across Europe, and the Netherlands have a rate of 28, nearly 30%, nearly a third, like 33%. And so what they found is countries that have been most successful in moving towards these benefit from having overarching national circular economy policies, which is really good for Ireland because our Circular Economy and Miscellaneous Provisions Act was signed into law in July, and it's quite a good document. It's well worth reading. The links will be in the notes in the PowerPoint. So what it does, it's shifting Ireland away from take, make, waste economy. It's incentivizing the use of recyclable and reusable alternative, and not letting anything go out of the circular economy, like the cradle to cradle kind of thing, so nothing goes out. Getting rid of single-use disposable packaging, and we're also, like we did with the plastic bag levy many years ago, we could be the first in the world to get rid of disposable drinking cups for, I suppose, you know, I use them the odd time, but I do try to carry around a recyclable one or reusable. Like the plastic bag, if you remember, levy came in and all those bags were out in the country here. They were in the trees and the roads and the ditches. They were all around the cities and towns, and it disappeared probably in about a year. It just nearly eliminated the plastic bag waste. And it also will tackle illegal fly tipping and littering. There will be cameras to do that. They won't be monitoring the citizens. They will just be keeping an eye on places that there's a lot of dumping going on, or illegal dumping going on. So current trends in the circular economy for current products that you can get in Ireland, C&D waste figures. The construction sector globally consumes 42 billion tons of resources. So it's the most material intensive sector. It produces 1/3 of all global waste, most of which is not recycled, reused, but ends up dumped in landfills. So landfills, I think, in the future could be resource centers where people will just go, or companies will go to take out the materials that are dumped there and reuse them. Now, changing this industry it's not easy, but there's a lot of people on board, and the change is happening. The construction and demolition waste is from any building works, development and demolition, including transport infrastructure that's required for these. So the remainder, it's all these materials. You can read about them. And excavated soil and stone is one of the biggest elements. It makes up 85% of our waste from construction, and the quantity of waste increased in Ireland to 88.8 million tons in 2019. That's the most up-to-date figure. I'd imagine since the COVID, the yogi is over, it's probably gone up now in 2022 as well. Most of the waste in Ireland is backfilled, so it's just thrown back into other parts of the site. 10% went for disposal, and only 7% was recycled. But recycling for metals is quite good at 100%, and waste bituminous materials is 64%. Notably, only 30%, 9% of wood, glass, and plastic waste was recycled in 2009. 54% went for energy recovery. I threw in that bit there, incineration, so they're burning it. My feeling is that's probably going to come out of the loop unless very, very materials that cannot be reused and repurposed. But I think we're going to move away from that kind of idea in the future. So it's just a couple of reusable recycling. So Brock have a system where they are in partnership with a waste company that drops a skip onto site, and I've spoken to them the other day now. It only really works on very big sites. It doesn't work if you're only doing one house, because you're only going to maybe have 3 sheets of plasterboard left over. Now they might have a system, they were saying, in the future, where you could bring that bag to a landfill, or what do you call them, recycling center, or bring them to a place that gathers all that stuff. So skip collects it. If any contaminants in it, the waste company takes them out, brings just the gyprock, and for gyprock it has to be only their material. Goes to their facility, it's shredded, and it's put back into as feedstock for new plasterboard, and then you can get a traceability certificate for it. So this is Shuffle EGB. I have meant to change that piece of information in the middle, but I didn't get around to it. So what they're doing, they have these training courses on installation, very, very good, well worth going up there to see, or any of the other ETBs that are doing them. So they found that they had a lot of waste materials, you see in the back, the polystyrene, the EPS. So they got this this system that it shreds the polystyrene, compresses it, heats it, and it comes out and then blocks on the right hand side. And then they just wrap them up and they go back to the waste matters company. I spoke to them the other day. It reduces the volume of all this waste, so less skips, less like volume that you need to get rid of, down to 10%. So it reduces it by 90%. The company exports these blocks then to manufacture insulation. Spain, Portugal, and Germany at the moment is 100%. The insulation that they're making in these countries are 100% from this recycled material from various places all over Europe. 17 minutes, sorry, just checking. Also, the guy that started the company was telling me that they also make recycled plant pots out of them as well, and when they're being reused, or when they're not used anymore, you know, when you take the plant out of them, you can bring them back there and they can remake them again. So I'm just going to go into some kind of, I suppose, circular products and renewable or regenerative products. Here on the left hand side is wood-based board, insulation board. It can be used in any kind of different aspects in a building. It's made from wood waste, from sawmills, from forestry, and from joinery shops. The white one, super soft, is made in the UK. It's made from 90% recycled plastic bottles, so that's reducing the amount of plastic bottles going to landfill, dump, and obviously ending up in the sea. This block here in the middle is something that I really, really like. It's called BiBlock. They're making them in America. The machines are really cool. So they shred all the plastic up, they heat it up with steam, they compress it, and it turns into this block, and they can build walls. And they started off like with walls and kind of structural things, not in house, but they're now making actual little modular buildings, offices, and things like that at their own company. This is really good because we're only recycling 9% of our plastic that we're making at the moment, so we need to lock some of this stuff up. Now maybe in 20 years time this wall might be a you know, a material that someone might come and buy the wall off you, take the plastic out of it, remake it into something, and you get a new wall of wood-based or some bio-based material. On the right-hand side there, then at the bottom is wool, which obviously is not getting a huge need from the clothing industry at the moment. So some of the wool, when the sheep are sheared, the wool is not really used, it's left sitting. So now we have a material there that we can make an insulation out of, and it's bio-based, and it's quite, I've used it before myself. It's quite a good material. The bit there on the top is a wall made from, it's at one of the training centre, it's a wall made from straw, which is another byproduct of agriculture, could supply this. That wall is made of timber frame with straw infill insulation, and a wood board based and lime based finish coat on the outside. I could be going into these things forever, so I didn't finish in one slide. So also this top left hand side, the wall with the house with the downpipe, that's foam glass aggregate, so it can be used as a filling, but it also can be used as an insulation. So it can, because it's got thermal properties, it can be used as a as a drainage. It can be used underneath new. They're putting it in even into old buildings where they're refurbishing the floors. I just put this one here because that particular path there also, because it's got insulation property, has reduced the thermal bridge of where the wall joins the outside of the house, so it can improve the performance of a building, because you can't always put external insulation on everything. You can't always, cut out floors. You can't do everything, so it helps with a lot of things, and it's 100% recyclable material. There's a link to it there. The eco cell there is made from old newspapers. The iso cell is made from old paper in Austria. All these products are available in Ireland. On the right hand side, the guy on the ladder, that's made in Armagh. It's made from 85% recycled or plastic bottles, so it's removing a lot of materials going to waste, and it's holding them up. And also it can be reused, but that particular product has a 25-year guarantee, and anything that has a 25-year guarantee to me will last forever. So I think that's it. These products, and the one underneath with the flat ones there are hemp, flax, and various wood-based insulation materials as well. And the very interesting one, bottom left, just above the writing, is made from mushrooms. It's insulation made from mushrooms, which can be grown in very easily, and have very, very little kind of environmental impact. And when it's finished with, it can go back out. If it can either be used as a fuel, or it can go back out and be used as a compost, or to regenerate soils. They've been making leather out of that. I think Stella McCartney, Paul's daughter, has been making leather out of mushrooms for decades now, and so there's a lot of good benefits from these natural materials. There will be places where all other insulation materials will be required to do air, because of size and the depth of an insulation material due to its thermal conductivity. So if a material has a lower conductivity and there's a space requirement, it will be needed. My feeling is that all materials in the insulation world will be recyclable, reusable in the future. That's my feeling. The future trends in the circular economy is life cycle assessment. So it looks at the whole life cycle of a building, assesses it, and it gives a kind of a rating for the building at the end for the embodied carbon. It's the emissions associated with all activities. So the procure and mine of raw materials, making these materials, so manufacture, transport, and site, and maintain, replace, and remove them. So it's the whole cycle from coming out of the ground, or if it's recycled, to when it's going to be reused or just get dumped and waste. My feeling is waste is going to come to an end in the future. So reusing a product or a building, so retrofitting over a new build, controversial maybe there, you're saving on embodied carbon and carbon dioxide emitted during manufacture, transport, and construction of new building materials, and together with the life cycle at the end. But if it doesn't go into if it doesn't leave the circle, the emissions stay low, because it becomes a feedstock or a virgin material for a new product if it can't be reused as what it was already doing. And that other one about carbon footprint, you can have a read yourself. It does have a negative effect on the environment. So benefits of reductions is with less areas get mined, so they're less natural areas are destroyed. I suppose you could do better jobs in the sector, less air pollution, more circular jobs. Again, my feeling is the circular economy is going to change the economic system in the future. Less fossil fuels, less heavy transport, and less landfill, because they could be reduced in the future. They could actually become like areas where people go to recycle materials that have been there for decades. But the life cycle analysis has a couple of stages. It looks at the cradle to gate, so up to the manufacturing, construction stage, use stage, end of life stage, and then cradle to cradle, which was created by a namesake of mine, no relation, Michael McDonagh, in the late 80s. And I think my feeling C1 to 4 is going to come C1 to 5 in the future, because there will be no grave. It will be cradle to cradle. The system will keep in, it will stay in the loop. So there are common frameworks at the moment. This one is levels, which will give a reading and will give an outcome of what your building is going to do from cradle to cradle. So it has all these various different output. So it gives you the emissions for the building's life cycle, how resource efficient and circular it is, water resources, the health, the adaptation and resilience to climate change, maybe overheating, maybe cooling in certain places, and life cycle, you know, flood attenuation, all these bits and pieces. Climate is changing quite a lot. Like my brother-in-law is up in the Antarctic at the moment doing a research project, and luckily he wouldn't bring me with him, but he said they got 40 degrees about 3-4 months ago. I don't think they've ever had those, and life cycle costs, they've never had those temperatures. So that levels one is quite good. I've done the course quickly, but I couldn't explain it to anyone because, you know, I'm just doing it very fast just to get through it. The link there is to it. It's got a training session as well. And also the IGBC have developed this life cycle analysis as well. One click, it's very good. As you see, it gives ratings like the BERs, the kilograms of CO2 equivalent per square meter of building. So G rating there is, it might have a lead office, but it's G rating, and look at the A ratings are at 299 kilograms, even at 180. Actually, there's a really good one down at the bottom there is 73. So that's quite a good system as well. They do, the IGBC do training in it as I've been involved in that. So it's a good one worth looking at. So a lot of these systems then will actually give building certification schemes. So you can see them all there, and they give you different levels from, you know, A rating to B rating to F rating. There could be gold, platinum, silver, could get lower, silver 2, whatever. So they're the, so right, I'm looking 27, Stephen, keep an eye on. And also I just want to mention modular construction because, and modern methods of construction, because I think they're the way of the future. They're like lean as well. We do more and more with less and less materials. It's a more efficient, better system, and it means that we can kind of just go onto site, drop these things, join them together, and it reduces like waste, it reduces kind of mistakes, it reduces quite a lot of things, and they can be used for anything, and they can build up, like, you know, quite a lot of stories. I'm not sure structurally what it is, so I'm not going to mention it because I'm not a structural engineer. So the last one then is the little additional green and circular economy principles that are now coming: our well-being, human development, health, happiness, education, community, justice between us all across the planet as well. So that's what the donut economic kind of looks at a little bit too, is that we look at the effect that what we do or what we buy or what we get from different countries, whether it's water, minerals, equipment, what effect it has over in other people, in other parts of the world and other communities. Planetary boundaries, protecting our biodiversity, soil and water, energy and sufficiency, our efficiency, and so reducing our loads, reduce the use. Easy, nice catchphrase there Stephen came up with 6 months ago. And also sufficiency, as in keeping our stuff in the circle, and good governments, institutions that look at democratic accountability and policy and government. So we're all, and on the left hand side here is just to show that the puzzle, jigsaw, it's not a puzzle because we kind of know what we need to do. The circular economy is part of the whole solution, and those other bits are part of the whole solution as well. So I think that's me finished now. 29 minutes here, I'm only 15 minutes over. So thanks for listening. And then myself and Stephen kind of thinking self-sufficiency for different countries is going to be a good thing in the future, where we can kind of create, use most of what we need in our own country, and then maybe export, you know, if we're generating excess wind in the future. So this self-sufficiency book written by John Seymour in 1976 has a lot of good stuff in it. Thanks for listening. Over back to you, Stevie. I'll stop sharing my screen. Hopefully didn't overload everybody too much today. Over to you, Stevie.
That's perfect, Benny. Thank you very much for that. You're actually bang on time, which was good. There's a lot of information there, and as Benny said, we're going to share the slides afterwards to all the attendees or the people that have registered for today's webinar. So there's a lot of good information there, and thank you all for joining us today. We unfortunately don't have any questions, but I will CC Benny in the email out to everyone. So if you have any questions, further questions, you can ask Benny yourself. So So with that,
Yeah.
I'd like to say thank you all very much for coming, and we'll see you in the next one.
Okay. And Simon, I'm going to give you a chat as well. So I need to ask you another question. See you later, guys. Take care.